All right, welcome to the next lecture, and today we're gonna see something new. We are starting our new model called Quarkus REST, and we're gonna build REST modules, and we're gonna make it a lot easier, quicker along the way. So let's start with the basic JSON REST API, right? So we actually made something already there. We worked on the books a little bit, right? So we have what was it called? Book resource, right? So we have a book resource which uses a list of strings actually for the book as the names of the book, and we have a freelancer's Bible here, right? Everything is super easy, and so we have a get method, post method where we add books, get method where we receive all the books that we have, put method which updates the book that we already have with the ID, whereas ID is our current index, basically nothing special. And then we have a delete, which deletes our book by specific index, right? So what we're going to do today actually is just replace a string with a book. So if we create a new object called book, for example, right, this won't work because we don't have a JSON serialization yet. So this is the external feature that you need to add, and it's super easy, basically, right? So what you're gonna need to do is you need to go to POM XML, and you remember that we have a Quarkus REST Easy framework, Quarkus REST Easy library that we already have, and we only need to add a few more, actually one library, depending on your requirements. So it can be either dependency, let's create dependency, called Quarkus REST Easy JSON B, like this, and it should automatically add our library. So this is the group ID will be IO Quarkus, and then the artifact ID is Quarkus REST Easy JSON B. We'll import changes, maybe make it a little bit more bigger for you. So yeah, that's the one that we have. The other one, which I won't add this time, but it's also an option called Quarkus REST Easy JSON. This one is basically so there is actually a JSON object mapper that was used pretty much everywhere in Spring as well. And we have also JSON-B, which is like superior new option for JSON manipulation. So we're gonna use the JSON-B for this time, but there is also an option to use the Quarkus as well if you need this. So yeah, so now we have, with this all single dependency, we actually have already support for JSON, and we don't need to do anything. Basically, it's already handled by Quarkus. So only what we need to do now is to add one book, right? We need to create a data class called book. I usually add class in a package that called data. So we have data.book in our case, right? So here we need to specify, for example, let's create an empty constructor. Let's create some fields, right? So let's create an I don't know, like a long ID, right? Private string name and private string author, right? So that's basically our, so this will be our data object, right? And we also have ID, name, and author. So let's create the getters and setters. We won't add any libraries because, for example, Lombok or something like this, because it's not as convenient as for the cars, right? So we have ID, name, author, and then getters and setters for each one, and then empty constructor, right? That's enough. So let's rewrite our book resource a little bit. So now we'll have a books here. So like this, our list of books. And now let's actually add another constructor for all the items, just for the usability, right? So now we have a new book, with ID 1, right? Then name will be name, and then the author, actually, I don't know, I don't remember an author, so I'll put ADK. I don't have the books right now somewhere nearby, so yeah. So that's there, right? Actually, we need to put it like this, so it will be long. So now we have, on a startup, we'll have one book available to us. And let's actually go to the get method. So now with the get method, it was quite hard, right? So we had to join all the books with a comma. Right now, what we're gonna do is actually we just return a list or even collection of books. Let's import it, and here we just return the books. That's it. Yeah. So now everything that related to changing the data, right? We actually need to change the application JSON. So now everything will be handled by the JSON B Quarkus module, Quarkus library, and we don't need to know actually what's going on underneath, because it's super simple. For some frameworks like Spring, right, in Web MVC or this is actually already handled automatically with a JSON, for example. In our case, you don't need for sure the JSON support, right? So in this case, it's like an additional feature that you can add. So yeah, let's create a post actually, and this is super simplified. We don't need to do anything actually here. So I mean, we of course need to do, but let's add a book like this, right? And then here we also return the book, and here we need to actually, yeah, books, add book. So in this case, right, we won't think about the idea actually right now. Let's remove it actually. We won't touch it in this case. We'll touch it later in our ORM videos. So I removed the ID for now because we'll touch it later in the ORM videos with the data. And so now we'll only have a name and author. So just for convenience, we don't need to think about the persistency right now, or like. So yeah, so here in the post method we just add a book and return the book back, or actually I think, can we? No, we can't. Okay, so this like this. So we have also a put, which will be actually the same way. So we need an index, still we need an index, but here we'll have a book in our case. So we'll remove the book by the index, and we add a book, and we return the book back, which will be like this, right? Everything's super easy and simple. So, and of course for delete we actually will use the same thing. What doesn't, what shouldn't like. So required, okay, we need to make a change for the. So right now we upgraded our app, our book resource to serve output as a JSON, not only like a string. And so here, instead of a book, we can have everything that you need actually. You can create any object, not only a book, like, I don't know, like entry, petition, whatever it can be, question. So, and all the fields will be handled automatically by the JSON converter, right? So we have everything here. Let's test it, right? So now I opened my Postman, right, on our HTTP localhost 8080 book. Right now it won't work because I haven't started it yet. So let's start it, right? Let's choose mvin Quarkus dev. So now it will start. It may actually update some dependencies. Let's see. Or maybe I already, no, it's downloading the JSON B, all the required dependencies for us, and it started, right? So we can go to 8080 book and get a get, and you can see that we have a JSON output, right? So we have an array, right? So we pass an array which you can see here. And then all the objects is serialized as required for us. So there is a JSON book object in JSON representation, and then all the fields, author, I don't know, and then name, the freelancer's Bible. So that's there. Let's test our actually what do we have? We have a post here. Let me copy this JSON object for me for later use. Let's use a post and put in the body our raw JSON object, right? And let's put name aspect no. After I don't remember x2. So I don't have these books right now, so sorry about that. Oh yeah, let's send, and we actually have strange output, right? Why? Because we forgot to do something. Because we forgot to replace a produces type from text plain to application JSON. So now Quarkus knows that we want to have an output as a JSON object. It sees that we have a JSON-B dependency, so it binds it together, and when we send this request again, you can see that we have correct output, which exactly what we need. And if we go to get method right now, you can see that we have two JSON objects. That's pretty much exactly what we wanted to have, right? So that's the second one, aspect and OM. Let's put the book by the index 2. How we have it? Yeah, by index 2. Let's put in the actually index 1. Sorry, aspect and OM 2. So I want to have it with a different name, right? We made a put. Let's see what we have at get. So this is one way to handle your responses from your app. The second one is actually more flexible, convenient, and not easy, but more useful to have it as output. So imagine that you, in some further time, you want to have a get method not only output books, right? Maybe you don't sure yet what you want to respond, right? Or the second option, you want to have a response as an error, right? How you can put an error as a collection of books, right? So everything from this is handled by a response object. So let's rewrite our book resource, right? Let me actually commit it as a, oh my god, I don't remember the lecture, but so book resource, okay, whatever, I'll figure it out later. All right, yes, so now we can change a collection of books to response, which is JavaX Web Services, right? And now, instead of returning the books, we want to have a response. Okay, it actually after completes everything that I want to have. So right now, if we reload and see a get, you'll see that we have status 200 okay, which is exactly what we want. But we also want to have a books as a output. So you just need to put it back to the the body of this function, right? So it expects object entity and then media type. So we don't need to put a media type because we already have a produces option here. But if it's like something completely different, then maybe you want to include it as well. So that's there, right? And the other way, so maybe you want actually to, let's comment it out for a while. Maybe you want to return a response, which will be, for example, server error, right? And build. So in this case, I don't think it has a body because it's a server error. So now, if we query get, you'll see that you have 500 internal response error. But keep in mind that this server error, right? You can see it's actually with a curvy font because it's a builder basically. If the signal is that you have a build method at the end. So what does it mean is that you can have actually you can use a response status. So you can put any status what you want. In our case, let's put it 200 to wherever, right? And then you can specify so many different parameters that you want. You can specify an entity, in our case like books, right? Books, for example. So what I actually do in entity is it checks the, we can actually see this method. It's actually a builder in our case. I don't want to have a builder, but so what it actually do is that it checks if this object is not the response. You can put a response in entity as well. So it's like response and response. If it's not response, then it's serialize it as you need. In our case, in JSON, right? So you can see here that we have a 202 response, and then the object is a list of our books. That's it, right? So let's actually change it the same way as we made it before. So with the response, as I said, it's actually a lot more, let's say it's a lot more flexible, because you're not attached to any object as a return. You have a generalized way to response to give something as output. So let's add a limitation for us, right? So if we have a book size more than, I don't know, maybe 5, then we want to return a response with a status, for example, 400, wherever. And yeah, that's enough. Basically, we can put an entity as a string, for example, right? Entity in our case will be no more than 5 books allowed, for example, right? So if we'll have a more than 5 books, it will give us an error. Let's see if it works, right? So let's create a post method. Yeah, so we already have some book here. You can see that we have 200, 200, 200, 200, and 400 bed request. No more than 5 books allowed, right? So that's exactly what I wanted. So you can basically manipulate whatever you want with a response with this case. Not when you are attached to any JSON object or whatever. So yeah, I'll leave the put and delete for you actually as a homework, and that's actually pretty much it. So one last thing that I want to show you actually is how to customize your converter. So it makes it it's super easy basically, right? So we have a config folder, and here you can create a new object. Let's create a JSON-B converter config, for example, right? And we need to implement one class called actually interface called JSON-B config customizer, right? And you have a customize option here where you can put any changes to you as you want. So you can add adapters here and specify anything that you need. So everything that you return, everything that you set here will be basically a custom object that the custom JSON config, JSON-B converter, right? So that's there. You can do the same thing with JSON. For example, you can add a support for the data time from the Yoda time, right? For example, and so everything like this will be in this config. So yeah, now you know how to do a JSON REST API with Quarkus, and you can see it's really easy. And I'll see you in the next lecture.